You know Angelica Ross, right? You've seen her play Candy in Pose, and then later in a fabulously memorable scene, Candy's Ghost. You've seen her in multiple seasons of American Horror Story, in which she played a chemist, an alien, and a doomed camp counselor, and then later a camp counselor's ghost. I'm sensing a theme here. Or if you're me, you know Angelica from that time you were both at the same human rights campaign dinner and she told you that you were very handsome. There is no chance she remembers that. Angelica Ross is a full-blown celebrity. Not just like a gay celebrity, a celebrity only known to those of the Rainbow Brigade, but a celebrity that has been an award-winning media with crossover appeal. The kind of person that, to steal a line from Girls 5 Eva, people in sweatshirts come up to and ask for selfies. She is the kind of celebrity whose door is usually beaten down by brands, event coordinators, and casting directors all looking to have a queer person stand next to something and smile during Pride Month. This isn't a new thing. Whether it's a legacy beer company looking to appeal to a younger audience, or an up-and-coming filmmaker looking to stack their red carpet, or a commercial that leaves you asking how something like Bleach could possibly be gay. Public entities who want to look cool have this unspoken diversity passport that they have to get renewed every year. They come around in February hoping a member of the Black community will give them a Black History Month stamp, and then February ends and most of these brands forget Black people and their buying power exists. If brands remember about AAPI Heritage Month in May, they come around hoping an Asian person will stand next to their logo and give them a stamp. In June, all the brands put out a rainbow bottle of vodka, or put on a rainbow-tinted concert, or roll out the rainbow carpet at a premiere and hope a queer celebrity will come and give them a stamp. Then June ends and they all quietly forget queer people exist for another year. Recently, Angelica Ross became one of a number of LGBTQ celebrities to take to social media to state that for the first time in years, her June books are empty. No commercials, no brand deals, no businesses cold shipping products to her P.O. box, hoping she'll take a selfie with them for Instagram. No invitations to events. Nothing. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so what? So maybe she's lost relevancy. She was only in one HBO Max show in the last year. Maybe brands are moving on to other bigger names. Except that's not really how this works, and she is not alone. It doesn't take much notoriety at all for you as an out queer person to be invited to give out a stamp in the unspoken diversity passport we're supposed to pretend doesn't exist. Actors, artists, authors, musicians, singers, scientists, entrepreneurs, fashion designers, news reporters, healthcare workers, or even just your basic run-of-the-mill content creator with a few thousand followers. If you have a platform of any kind, your inbox has typically received at least a few invitations to events or an offer to smile next to a box of gifted merchandise in recent years. But this year, things seem to be different. See, all those actors and artists and authors and musicians and entrepreneurs and content creators and all the rest have connections with one another behind the scene. A rainbow whisper network, as it were. We know that these offers usually start coming in by at least April, since contracts and filming and logistics all take time to work out, and we've been quietly noticing for the last 2 months that nothing is coming in. V from Under the Desk News has no bookings. Queer authors like Piper CJ, whose previous Junes were all booked up with signings and bookstore appearances, has nothing. Even out queer scientists who get to fill interesting overlapping niches, nothing. In years past, my own inbox, both physical and electronic, is filled with a handful of speaking engagements, most of them paid, invitations to Pride events in the Chicago area, and offers to come sign books as bookstores create displays featuring queer authors. A local college has had me out every year for the last several years to speak. Even during lockdown, that event went on virtually. It doesn't look like that event is happening this year. My P.O. box this time last year was filled with brands I'd never even heard of sending things to me to unbox. This year? Nothing. It seems everyone everywhere is afraid of creating another Bud Light controversy. No brand wants to be the person who gives Dylan Mulvaney a beer and makes the entirety of the conservative movement angry. Big box retailers that spent the last decade creating bigger, more elaborate Pride displays in their stores featuring collaborations with queer artists and designers and makers have either completely opted out of Pride or scaled it way back. Target's current offerings have all but removed the word Pride from their Pride display, instead opting for a handful of items that feature tamer messages like love loud, safe space, support your sisters, or it's giving charcuterie. The kind of messages that give them plausible deniability, the kind of generic messages that could really be about anything and are therefore about nothing. In years past, their offerings might have been a bit cringy, but they had clothing for people of all ages and all body types. They celebrated different types of pronouns and identity. They had tons of merch that specifically and enthusiastically embraced trans customers. these are all missing this year. Walmart is just giving us a box of rainbows that look like the kind of thing left over after St. Patrick's Day. Corporations are putting literal and figurative distance between themselves and the LGBTQ community. They've weighed the pro of our inclusion and our dollars against the con of conservative outrage and violence and decided it's easier to just not do business with us this year. Why is this important? A lot of people, especially very young people who had the privilege of growing up in a post-Obergefell country, say, so what? Rainbow capitalism is bad. This is what you get for allowing yourselves to think a big company ever cared about you. But none of this is happening in isolation. It is part of a much larger conversation. This rollback of support, this distance, is also in conversation with the year-over-year increases in book bans that disproportionately target queer authors and stories. It is in conversation with Supreme Court justices who say maybe we need to put Obergefell back on the docket. Maybe we need to take another swing at unwinding marriage rights. But beyond that, perhaps we need to look at Lawrence. Maybe queer people should not only not be able to get married, but maybe we need to ensure they can legally be monitored in their home to ensure they aren't sleeping in the same bed doing things every other couple does in the privacy of their home. It cannot be ignored that this is also in conversation with the looming threat of the election happening later this year and Republicans' Project 2025 that seeks to specifically criminalize queer identity. I keep saying this is all in conversation, but what is that conversation? From my perspective, it's basic in-group, out-group dynamics. I think most cultural issues go back to Sociology 101. The more you are exposed to people who don't look like you, who don't share your religion or your skin color, for example, the more likely you are to begin including them in your in-group, to trust them, to believe that what is good for them is also good for you, because if you serve the most oppressed of us, the rest of us also benefit. That cannot happen if you are never exposed to people outside of your in-group. If you don't see us on TV, in commercials, at events, holding hands, building families, signing books, lecturing on ocean science, if we are not on store shelves or bookshelves, if we are banned from libraries and the distance between us and the public continues to widen, then public support for our rights will follow suit. People will stop thinking we are just like them and go back to thinking we are the terrifying unknown. And in that fear, we become targets. So what does it matter that an influencer or an actor or a singer isn't getting some free swag or being invited to smile next to a logo? It means those companies no longer see us as valuable. It means that they also don't think it will cost them anything to roll back their support of us. It means they think our allies won't care enough to seek out the handful of smaller businesses that are less convenient and often more expensive to spend their dollars. It is a rainbow canary in a coal mine. Angelica Ross is great. So are all the other creatives and scientists and people in all sorts of industries who bring their unique identity to work with them every day. We aren't going away no matter how much distance the public tries to put between us. So you might as well include us. Hope this helps.